get started with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would like a motion to approve the agenda for February 20th, 2025 as presented. So moved.
Second.
Cook. Harmon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. All right, next we have special recognitions with Ms. Joels.
Thank you, Mr. Bertrand. Tonight we are recognizing another state championship team from Francis Howell Central. In December, the Spartan Esports team won the 2024 Overwatch State Championship, defeating Blue Springs South 3-1 in the final match. Woohoo! The team also won the Esports State Championship in 2020. Esports, or competitive video gaming, became a sanctioned high school sport in the United States in 2018. Studies show that students who participate in esports tend to perform higher on math and reading assessments, in part because esports involve significant technology usage, which allows students to develop STEM skills by analyzing data, game statistics, and strategies. Esports players also gain skills in leadership, critical thinking, teamwork, and communication, and are eligible for esports scholarships at more than 200 colleges and universities. Activities Director Brian Keim couldn't be here tonight, but he asked me to share some additional information about the team. Here's what he says. Under the leadership of head coach Chris Miller, our team finished the regular season with an impressive 6-1 record, with the only loss coming from a match played with a player down. But that didn't stop them. They've been focused and determined to push past every challenge. This team has been playing Overwatch together consistently for the past 2 years, and their hard work started long before the season began. In June, they began practicing 2 to 3 times per week, steadily increasing the difficulty of their opponents to prepare for the tough competition ahead. Their commitment to improving each week has been nothing short of inspiring. As a team of sophomores and juniors, the future looks incredibly bright for these players. Coach Miller hopes to have at least one more run with them next year, and it's clear they're only getting better. As a testament to their skill and dedication, all players on the roster have been offered college scholarships. Help me congratulate our newest state championship team from Howell Central.
Down in front.
We're not going to build behind it this time.
Yeah.
Hold that in front of it. And then you stand right here, right in that little crack so you can't see that you don't have to meddle. There you go. Perfect. You go down. Okay, hang on. All of you guys take a little step this way. There you go. There you go. Much better. Much better. Perfect. Okay, big smiles. Thanks. Congrats, you guys.
Thank you.
Our student board representative this month is from Francis Howell High School. And as you know, the purpose of the student board rep program is to honor and recognize talented students, elevate student voice, and provide growth opportunities in the areas of public speaking, leadership, and governance. Students are selected for this honor by their principal with input from the student body. They have an opportunity to prepare and deliver a short speech to the board and public that is focused on their school or the district. And with that, I'll invite Principal Dr. Dave Wedlock to the podium to introduce our board rep from Francis Howell High. Dr. Wedlock.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to introduce an outstanding young lady. As Ms. Joels just said, I have the opportunity to introduce tonight's student board representative, Ms. Anika Jain. We are fortunate to have her mother, Parul, here with us in the front row, and her father, Rajat, online tonight, watching his daughter proudly as she participates in this meeting. We appreciate their effort to support and guide Anika into the successful person that she is today. So to introduce her, I'm going to use some quick adjectives to help you get to know her. First of all, she's curious. She wants to know and master many ideas. That includes a 4.7 GPA, 5 college-level advanced placement classes this year, and an ACT score in the top 3% of 1.4 million students nationwide. Pretty good. Her career goal is to be a lawyer economist, and she wants to go to a university that gives her the best offer. So if you have one, please send it her way. She's connected. Beyond the classroom, she's part of 6 clubs that include FBLA, Future Business Leaders, Speech and Debate, Youth and Government, National Honor Society, and more. One of the big reasons she's here tonight is she's also charismatic. She's a leader in just about everything that she does, and in her speech she'll tell you more about this, so I won't tell you twice. But in short, she's the leader of FBLA at our school and has been elected into 2 statewide positions by her peers. So she's someone that makes connections quickly, and the people that she's with really feel like she's a great representation of their interests. She's also courageous. As part of her leadership beyond the school walls, she serves as a student representative on the YMCA Executive Board, works as a student leader for Bank of America, and seeks to build bridges in closing technology gaps within education by seeking matches between corporate funding and students in rural communities in order to empower students with the skills and knowledge they need to be successful in the digital age. She wrote that last part. And finally, she is congenial. I wanted to use gregarious, but that doesn't start with letter C. In talking with the teachers, Anika is a wonderful student, classmate, and an explorer of city attractions, traditions, and shopping opportunities. The best part of this story, however, is that this pastime has developed through building a loving relationship and tours led by her grandmother, who knows all the best places to stop and visit. So, congratulations, Anika, as a principal of Francis Howell High School. I am proud to announce her as tonight's Student School Board Representative.
That's a little high, sorry. Hi everyone, it's such an honor to be here tonight representing Francis Howell High School. As I stand here today, I'm reminded of how incredibly grateful I am to have been a part of this community and how this community has lifted me up and encouraged my passions and all my wildest dreams. As a freshman, I was very unsure of the life I wanted to carve out for myself, so I tried out everything the school could offer. And let me be the first to tell you that there's quite a lot. I took Project Lead the Way classes in biomedical sciences while also joining extracurricular activities such as Missouri Youth in Government and Future Business Leaders of America. 2 vastly different experiences. However, involving myself in such opportunities gave me the unique chance to explore career options that I wouldn't have been able to had I just stuck to one career from the beginning. By sophomore year, I was confident that I wanted to pursue a career in politics, and Francis Howell High School offers its students the luxuries of failing and trying again, which I certainly have. When I tried taking pre-medical classes, I quickly realized that blood and needles were not for me, but Francis Howell offers the opportunity to try out new things. Outside of academics, this community has encouraged me to take risks and put myself out there, like from teachers and administrators like Dr. Wedlock and Mrs. Schultz, my AP World History teacher. As a result, I've grown in all my extracurricular activities with their support. Knowing that I was interested in politics, Ms. Schultz encouraged me to run for state governor in mock Missouri Youth in Government, which is where we write up and build a mock state government. I ran and I won, so this past year I served as state governor in Jefferson City. I was able to meet Governor Kehoe as well, which was such an incredible honor. I also traveled to DC for a 5-day trip with the YMCA as I sit on their board, and I was able to lobby our state representatives and senators for more civic education funding to match the funding that we give to our STEM subjects, which was also really incredible. I then also worked with the Bank of America to match corporate funding to a nonprofit that me and a friend of mine founded together to bridge the inequality gaps in digital literacy in India, which is a community that is very close to my heart. So far, together, we've raised $20,000, and I'm incredibly grateful for all the support that I've gotten from the Francis Howell community for that project. I've taken lots and lots of adventures in high school, evidently. However, my biggest and best adventure by far was becoming a Howell Viking. This high school has been the foundation of my passion and all my hard work. I certainly wouldn't be who I am today had I not moved to the Francis Howell district in 5th grade, worked my way up from John Weldon. I am filled with a profound sense of gratitude for the experiences and opportunities that Francis Howell has provided me, the friends I've made, the mentors who have guided me, and the challenges that have shaped me. These are the memories that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. The halls of the school have witnessed all my failures and all my victories too. As I embark on the next chapter of my life, I will always cherish the lessons I learned here. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Yeah, we're both gonna stay.
So we would like to welcome you up here, and while you cannot vote, you are allowed to ask questions, take notes, and anything we can do to make sure your voice is amplified, we'd be glad to do that. Thank you.
And I will invite Dr. Wedlock to come back to the podium to present our spotlight tonight. He's going to talk about the intentional work they've done at Howell High to help students improve their ACT scores. Dr. Wedlock.
Okay, so in our brief presentation, we'll start with the first slide with the photo, which really begins to tell the story. Okay, so this is really what has inspired tonight's presentation. This is a group of 102, almost all class of 25 students at Francis Howell High School. The class of 25 is an outstanding group. If you haven't met them, please come by the school and meet them. They're tremendous young people, and since 2017, we have been looking at the number of students increasing their ACT score by 3 points or more during high school. And so because to us and to ACT, that says it's real improvement. It's not a guess, it's not luck, it's not happenstance. Like, to raise your composite score by 3 points takes a real increase in skill. And since 2017, we look every 6 months at the number of students that have done this. This year, for the first time, as I said, this is 102 students. They're not all in the picture, but prior to this, the biggest number that we'd seen was 65 to 70. And so that begs the question, like, number one, congratulations to these students. As you might imagine, this includes students that, I'll be quick, that move from 16 to 19, which is really important because 18 is a college equivalency score in to go to college in English. So you have to reach that marker to be able to say you're ready for college. So a student that goes 16 to 19 or 15 to 18, that's really important. Just as it is for a student to go from 30 to 33, get the automatic Missouri Bright Flight scholarship and move forward that way. So a lot of stories in here of individual students and families really committing to improving academically during high school. But then also, I did want to recognize our teachers that are part of this, because the last 2 years, which have been this senior class to be the first senior class, our junior English teachers have worked really hard to combine some of those ACT skills with some of the instruction that's all Francis Howell curriculum. It's not like we stop curriculum and do ACT. We just weave the two together, and just wanted to speak to a little bit of their process. And then we'll have some students talk about their experiences.
Hi, I'm Sean Wheeler. I'm an English teacher at Francis Howell High School, and thanks for the opportunity to brag a little bit about some of the cool things that we're doing. The English 3 PLC at Howell has taken lots of concerted steps this year to help students find greater success on the ACT test, particularly the English portion where they've historically kind of struggled most. So first off, we've coordinated several full-length English ACT practice tests. Students are having to demonstrate their knowledge of English grammar, mechanics, punctuation, and usage on that test. For a lot of our kids, those practice sessions are their first exposure to that test, sorts of questions that the test expects of them, the rigor, and the format. So that's valuable in and of itself. As a PLC, we really carefully pick apart that scoring data. We figure out exactly where our kids are struggling the most, and we work collaboratively to create lessons to drill down on those specific skills. Our students will practice those skills in a variety of different ways: start of the hour warm-up activities, online practice, all sorts of coaching sessions that we teachers are monitoring. We're continually coaching them through the process. We assess their progress with short formative assessments. And our PLC's been very, very deliberate to create assessments that look like the sorts of questions they'll see on the real ACT to make that as authentic an experience for them as we possibly can. And finally, we've been making our kids take more ownership of their growth by having them track scores and skill level and reflect on ways they can improve. And as Dr. Wedlock said, we're trying to do all this in a way that feels as embedded with the curriculum as natural as possible. And we're pretty proud of what we've done. We've seen some pretty encouraging growth from our kids in the areas we've targeted, and the feedback from kids themselves has also been mostly positive as well. They seem to genuinely see the value in what we're doing in English 3, and we hope it will have lasting positive results for them. As Dr. Wedlock said, he spoke with a couple of my English 3 students about what they've taken from what we're doing in our classes, and we have a quick little video here giving you some of their perspectives. And before it starts, the students here are Adele Abadea, Emmy Acker, and Ellie Huey. Oh, buffering, the bane of my existence.
I do think that the ACT work in English is important because
That's right. See if that'll work one more time. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Try it again.
I think it is on YouTube, yes. Go to the site directly.
I do think that the ACT work in English is important because I myself value my ACT score, and I plan on
I think maybe since technology is not going to be one with us tonight, we can summarize just that all of these students really felt like this work is important to them. The student on the right in the video talks about his, so we pre-post them so they take a test, work on their
I
skills,
want to get that up
and
as high
come
as
back.
possible and having like a teacher in class.
And then post-test it to measure their, so they can see their own improvement. And he in particular said that he had a 6-point improvement on his pre-post test, which is just fantastic and a tribute to his work and the work of the teachers to really help them build their skills. And that really, the other 2 young students also shared stories about how much they appreciate of having the opportunity to know where they are, have really targeted practice in those areas, which again, there are things like knowing how to use a semicolon, which is in the Frank style curriculum. It is important to know. It's also tested on the ACT at a pretty sophisticated level. And so having that knowledge ahead of time and be able to practice really makes a big difference to them, both in their skill to use these reading skills and grammatical skills, but then also score well in the ACT and receive the college benefits and scholarships that come with that. So sorry the technology didn't work tonight, but just want to take a minute and share some of the great things happening in Frank style.
Board, I just want to thank Dr. Wedlock. Or you done, Mr. Sorry.
Just going to say thank you again.
We, each year, the academic department shares the update related to MSIP and the work, and I know that ACT is an important metric that you talk and ask questions about each year. Not only does it demonstrate career readiness and college readiness, there's a direct correlation. You look at pretty much any institution right now in the nation, and as that score goes up, scholarship money increases for the student with every point. And so it really is important for whatever path our students are headed down to focus on that. And so I appreciate that being here tonight and providing some specific examples of the work you're doing at Howell High as well as at the other two schools to really work on improving these scores for our students.
Next, we have patron comments. During patron comments, residents of the district and staff members are invited to address the Board of Education on issues related to the school district. Speakers are called forward in the order of sign-up, and each speaker has 3 minutes to make their remarks. Please remember that only one speaker is allowed at the podium at a time, and combining time or giving your time to someone else is not permitted. The board appreciates that you've taken the time to come this evening, and we value both your input and perspective. I would like to remind everyone that we expect the speakers will remain civil and respectful when giving remarks. If anyone fails to comply with board policies, regulations, and rules, we reserve the right to cut those 3 minutes short. We also ask the patrons in the audience to remain quiet in order to be respectful of the speaker's allotted time. We welcome Jamie Martin.
Good evening, board. Director Cook, in a recent meeting, I listened to you explain why a superintendent with diversity, equity, and inclusion skills was somehow a red flag. And I couldn't help but note that the irony there, because it was really a lack of inclusion that put you and 4 others in your seats. You sit where you do because in 2021, a lot of folks felt dismissed, even gaslit in response to their questions, patron comments, emails, and requests for meetings. And now that it's your turn to govern, 4 of the 5 of you have decided to serve just the opposite portion of the community. Nearly every time a majority of stakeholders asks you for something, to update the 10-year-old math resource, fund teacher training, keep a resolution against racism, or even renew Brain Pop, you choose your party politics instead. So, I'm going to save us all some time. Instead of begging the majority to address our concerns, I'm just going to appeal to the community. The next 3 speakers are 2 leaders and a former candidate of the PAC who supported the 5 of you. These same folks who once shouted to keep politics out of schools now hold big fundraisers with leaders of political parties and display messaging that says keep Francis House School Board conservative. They intentionally keep division alive, blocking members of the community on social media and refusing repeatedly to sit down with community members seeking to connect and engage in civil dialogue. Listen, folks. Today, our kids share a school, but tomorrow they'll share neighborhoods and a workforce. They'll even have a chance to govern themselves. They deserve better than the toxic back and forth. They deserve to learn and practice the respect they will need for each other. The last thing they need is stakeholders battling over 2 separate visions of tomorrow that no one person or group has the right to decide for the other. 2 years ago, 3 other moms and I organized a nonpartisan committee, Francis Howell Forward, and we've asked candidates since, how will you respond to board members and stakeholders who disagree with you? Last year, Director Blair and Owens answered by saying they would strive to find common ground. This year, Amy Greider and Sarah Olkey have shown us they have what it takes to hear their community and respond with balance and good judgment. Parents, we've all agonized over decisions that we've weighed with doctors, clergy, mentors, loved ones. As you choose what is best for your child at the ballot box in April, please honor other people's right to do the same. None of our kids should be subjected to the political whims of people who think they know better than us. Check out Amy and Sarah at francishowforward.org. And to the next 3 speakers, to any stakeholder, my invitation to set aside our discomfort with one another and get to know each other stands. I hope to see you soon.
Up next, we welcome King Gontars.
Board, Superintendent, good evening. Daily, we hear on the news that the government, major corporations, universities, the NCAA, and now the Olympics have backed away from DEI, social justice, men and women's sports. En masse, companies are saying goodbye to DEI. McDonald's, Walmart, Boeing, Ford, Target, Lowe's, Coors, Google, and even Facebook. Universities too, like Texas, Florida, Kentucky, North Carolina, Alabama, Oklahoma, Michigan, and now Mizzou have done the same. The pendulum of public sentiment has swung away from these divisive, polarizing culture war issues. The people in November spoke loud and clear. Even progressive liberals like Bill Maher, James Carville, David Axelrod, tennis star Martina Navratilova, Mark Zuckerberg have all voiced how divisive and polarizing DEI has become and how dangerous and how unfair it is for men to be in women's sports. Regarding social justice, can you imagine allowing no cash bail to felons convicted of egregious crimes to be set free to commit further crimes? Or liberal district attorneys not prosecuting criminals for serious offenses? Imagine teaching our kids that because they're simply white, they're an oppressor or somehow evil. Social justice is not equal justice. It's unequal justice. It's subjective equity justice. It's the kind of justice that CRT professor LeGarrette King wanted to introduce into the Francis Howell School District. It's the kind of justice promoted by radical organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center. Remember? And yet we have a liberal school board candidate, an NEA teacher in the Parkway School District, who is championing this cause. Amazingly, this past year, the candidate received the NEA Parkway School District Jawanda Bozeman Award for Social Justice. If that isn't enough, examine the social media post and repost of the other liberal school board candidate. You'll see that she adamantly supports boys and girls sports, supports 5-year-olds choosing their own pronouns, and even supports puberty blockers, drugs for kids. On one hand, she is shown wearing a t-shirt with the word "be kind," but then posts about those who disagree with her, bigots, racists, homophobes, and transphobes. Go view these social media posts and reposts for yourself.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Haven't been deleted or edited. Thank you.
Next, we welcome Sam Young.
Good evening, board, staff, patrons. Thanks for coming out tonight, and thank you to all those who stayed home. It's cold out there, and probably a lot of better things to do too. So I'm going to talk tonight about the responsibility you guys have in picking our next superintendent, and some of the things I've seen with that. I'm going to start though with some of the things I've seen in the news about the nation's education scorecard, I guess that was called, that came out. So, this is from an AP article about that. America's children have continued to lose ground on reading skills in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. It have made little improvement in math, according to the latest results of an exam known as the nation's report card. Really disturbing. So, given every 2 years to a sample of America's children, the National Assessment of Educational Progress is considered one of the best gauges of the academic progress of the U.S. school system. The most recent exam was administered in early 2024 in every state, testing 4th and 8th grade students on math and reading. The news is not good, it says. So what did it say? It said growing numbers of students lack basic reading skills. The average math score for 8th grade students was unchanged from 2022, while reading scores fell 2 points at both grade levels. 1/3 of 8th grade students scored below basic in reading, more than ever in the history of the assessment. Yes, sad stuff. Compared with 2019 results, 8th grade reading scores are now down 8 points. Reading scores are down 5 points in both grades, and in 4th grade math, scores are down 3 points. So even though I had some bright spots with some math was higher, but reading scores were still down. but you go back compared to 2019, all the scores are still lower than what they were grading out in 2019. It's just sad to think about, what's in store for all the students that are in our school system. And this thing tests students across the country. It tests public and private school. It's supposed to be a broad assessment of all schools. So it's not a reflection necessarily on our school district directly. Like, I don't even know if anybody in our school district was tested or participated in it. But it does point to what a lot of kids are struggling through and what they have to overcome sometimes when they're in a school district that's not meeting their needs. It also points to just the importance of having a good school district. So you guys have a search firm that's helping you find this?
Thank you. Your time is up.
Oh, man. Thank you. I'll send more.
Next, we welcome Vivian Gantars.
Board, superintendent, and patrons. A conflict kept me from last month's meeting, but I listened to the video twice. One speaker really got my attention, the teacher who talked about class sizes. The reason I wanted to speak on this tonight is that same person spoke to my husband and me about the same topic 4 school years ago. When we first started coming to school board meetings, we spoke with 2 teachers to understand what they face and what was important to them. They both said recovery of lost salary due to the past freeze and class sizes. So in these school years since, the conservative board has made real progress on restoring lost salary through prudent management of finances while still keeping academic performances in the as the best scores in the county, But the class size issue is still a problem. Why? The administration tells us that the average class size is right where DESE recommends. But if each building has acceptable averages, then why is there such a discrepancy between 8th grade history and ELA class sizes, between ELA in one school and ELA in another school? Why are there as much as 3 more kids every hour, every day for some teachers? That is patently unfair to some teachers and very stressful, and it hinders education success. Class size has an impact on maintaining discipline, and maintaining discipline on disruptions and bullying. Class size impacts the individual attention that a student gets. Being able to have stimulating discussions that build critical thinking, and mental health support for struggling students, not to mention job satisfaction for teachers. Do some kids need to be moved to another school? Do some electives with low attendance need to be eliminated? I don't know, but there hasn't seemed to be a will to solve this problem. And this, like cell phones in classes, should be a nonpartisan issue that everyone should support. The teacher who spoke last month mentioned the 40 teachers who were cut some years ago. But where would we put them if we had them? Our district population is not growing according to the demographics study done in October of 2022. We don't need more buildings after these expansions and additions are completed. So adding 40 teachers is not the solution. Somebody's numbers are not right, and I don't know who it is. I don't think teachers want the board to start eliminating electives or deciding to move kids to other schools. That really would be micromanaging. So this would seem to be an issue for the admin. If our goals are truly to maintain high academics and retention of good teachers, both sides need to be honest. Birth rates wax and wane through the years, and the distribution of students is not going to be perfect, but maybe we need to focus on what's most important. Let's see if we can do better. And I didn't know Sam was going to talk about this.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Never mind.
Next, we welcome Grace and Justice.
Good evening. My name is Grayson Justice. I'm a alumni of Francis Howell, class of 2013. My pronouns is he and she. A lot of negative events have been going on last month besides you-know-who making ridiculous and bigoted things and comments, and ICE taking every immigrant from houses, schools, churches, hospitals, etc. During a special Zoom board meeting about the survey results to define the new super for Francis Howell, Randy Cook was shocked that the Francis Howell community's top 4 priorities of the new superintendent are student growth and achievement, 21st century skills, social and emotional health for students, and respecting for staff. And for the top core competencies of communities asked is demonstrating success in leading districts through demographic shifts and promoting equality and inclusivity. Randy Cook commented that he doesn't want a DEI cheerleader. For those who don't know what DEI stands for, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion, which includes race, gender, sexual orientation, age, disability, religion, socioeconomic status, national origin, body size, educational background, military and vet status, language, family structure, workplace roles, and justice involvement individuals. Speaking of sexual orientation, since Ms. Pushkar's not here, she posted on her public social media page that she will continue pushing her anti-transgender policy until it's passed without factual evidence to support her policy. And that is has nothing but words and disproven evidence. Thank you.
Next, we welcome Jennifer May.
Good evening. I'm here to discuss the superintendent search process tonight. I want to start by saying I agreed with the decision to hire an outside consulting group to solicit input from stakeholders across the district. I was pleased that School Exec Connect would be using that input to build a target profile and using that profile to present top candidates to the board. I had reservations about the timeline, but accepted the board's rationale that they wanted the chosen candidate to have time to learn the district and learn from Dr. Rumpus prior to July 1st. This process has been poorly executed to this point. The initial communication to district patrons gave a broad outline of dates for the process, with focus groups and open forums to be held January 21st and 22nd. When specific times for those dates were determined, there was no updated communication until an email at 12:03 p.m. on the date of the open forums. Working parents and patrons received the communication in the middle of a work and school day, with little time to make arrangements for childcare or their children's after-school activities. The teacher forum began at 4:30. Most of our elementary schools dismissed at 4:05. How were those teachers supposed to participate? This could have had higher community engagement with a more thoughtful timeline, more advanced notice, and more than one date for people to participate. My concerns grew when I watched the board Zoom meeting with School Exec Connect, where the firm presented findings from the surveys, open forums, and focus groups. School Exec Connect indicated that survey numbers surpassed their target, suggesting positive community involvement. One board member was dismissive of community members' priorities in the surveys. Why would the board pay for outside consultants to survey the community and lead this process if you didn't intend to honor the findings? Another board member had questions about provisions of the contract with School Exec Connect that I was stunned had not been clarified prior to signing. There was more vagueness about dates for interviews despite the warp speed timeline cited in the meeting. A decision had not yet been made about whether community members would be a part of the interview process. This all suggested a lack of preparedness and an intent to rush without having all processes in place. School Exec Connect presented 4 competencies for an ideal candidate based on community feedback. 2 of those made an impression on me: cultural competence and proficiency in crisis management. While members of this board wage battle against some of our marginalized and vulnerable students, the community is telling you that they want a leader who will protect and advocate for those students. Regarding crisis management, we are a district in crisis because of those battles waged, our impending financial cliff, and pressures on public education from state lawmakers. Choosing to dismiss community survey results in the superintendent search would reflect an ongoing pattern of disregarding stakeholder input in favor of political ideology. This undermines trust in the process and signals an unwillingness to address the district's real challenges. This pattern has already led to deepening divisions, declining morale among educators, and increased scrutiny of the board's decision-making. It risks further damaging the district's reputation, weakening community confidence, and exacerbating challenges in teacher retention, student outcomes, and public engagement. The board must prioritize what's best for students and schools over political maneuvering.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Next, we welcome Marissa Colson.
Good evening. My name is Marissa Polzine. I say it wrong too sometimes, not kidding. And I'm one of the 4 moms who formed Francis Howell Forward. I'm not going to talk about our fundamental differences here. I'm going to talk about our similarity. I was in these board meetings in 2020, 2021, 2022 when board members and part of the community that started Francis Howell Families spoke, and I heard that they felt unheard. So you organized, you elected board members. That's the great thing about democracy, right? Being unheard is one of the reasons that we formed in 2023. Leaders lead by listening and engaging in conversations, and you all won't even have conversations with us. As we know, Jamie has asked many, many, many times. We love her passion and her persistence. I have offered as well. And we're shut down at every turn. Parents are blocked, as somebody else pointed out. I've said it before here, and I'll say it again. I'm a joyful person, and I'm here for a good time and not a long time, and I hate this. We have been sitting in a pot of hot water since 2020, and we just keep turning the temperature up. Like Jamie said, we ask candidates how they will talk to and engage the community that thinks differently than them, and we would never support anyone who would shut people down. Every single student's success should be our top priority. We need to be giving them what they need to reach their post-high school goals to be productive, caring citizens who can work with diverse groups of people who think differently than them. Oh, sorry. I keep telling my kids for years that the environment that we're living in, however long, definitely 5 years longer, is not what I grew up with. This is not normal, but this is normal for them. And I'm not subscribing to that. I refuse to be a part of that. So I'm gonna stand here and say, anybody who I've already offered to sit down and talk to me, email us at francishowellforward@gmail.com. We'll sit down, we'll get a time, I'll learn a little about you, you'll learn a little about me. Does that mean we're gonna skip off into the sunset and agree? Absolutely not. Maybe it will though, you never know. But I know I'm somebody that when I'm presented with new information, I'll change my position. And the only way that we're gonna get to a place where we can all work together is by having conversations. When you are continually ignored, you get loud and you get angry. If you all continue to shut down even a conversation, you're cranking up the temperature. How much longer until it boils over? Because it really feels like it's at a rapid boil right now. I hope that we can start to bring the temperature down. The ball's in your court. And I will have to say, sometimes after the past 4.5 years, I wonder, were you unheard 4 years ago? Or were we having the same one-sided conversation? Our children are watching.
Your time is up.
Next, we welcome Amy G.
Well, good evening, everybody. I know you're all happy to see me. I just wanted to bring up some points that I thought, hey, this is a lot of money, and I like to point that out because there's been a lot of claims that someone's really good at money on the board, but I'm gonna be a little cocky. I think I'm a little better, and money's my weak point, so there's that. But anyways, okay, so for the district in 2018 and 2019 school year, we only spent $45,520 in legal fees, which seems like a lot. And then 2019 through 2020, it dropped down a bit to $40,904. And then we got 2022 to 2023, we're up to $107,881. That's something of concern. And I did my sunshine request, paid the dues. I think this actually didn't cost me that much money, but I've got the dink lifestyle. I can fight for people that I don't understand the whole situation, but if it's somebody that's being repressed, I think that I have the time and energy. I may not be able to have kids and stuff, but I'm gonna fight for them because they're our future. Getting back on topic, so that's a major jump, and with this 2024 to 2025 school year, we are already at, and this was even a couple days ago, so shoot, this might have gone up, $114,385,000. So that's crazy. And you've got 4 more months remaining because the actual school year will end in June. And I talked to another contracting attorney from a school district around the St. Louis area, and a lot of those legal fees you'll see at the end of the year. So just hang tight, guys. And I don't know what your legal fees were. They wouldn't tell me. I wish they would. But, you know, and of course I'm not privy to that information anyways, but I just think that should be something that the board looks at, and maybe with the way that people are approaching things, it may not seem important to them, but at the end of the day, it costs money, and if you care about money, then that's something that we need to look out for. Yeah, I'm really disappointed Mary Jane's not here, but I'll just wait till she comes back. I'd like to talk to her face to face. I got these new glasses that I can see people's facial expressions, and I really like that. So, I've got to turn that back on. All right, so I'll save that for then. Okay, 20 seconds. All right, let's make it quick. But I just think the increase in legal fee bills, that money could be better well spent. $114,000, which is going to be projected it to $148,750. You could hire a couple teachers. You should be paying them more, but...
Thank you. Your time is up.
All right, thank you.
Next, we welcome FHEA.
Good evening. My name is Francine Hill, and I am the president of FHEA. Although many of us are not looking forward to going to school in June, we do appreciate the district making sure that students and staff are safe. Thank you to the staff that worked hard to add AMI Day 5 so quickly. Also, thank you to our staff that worked in the bitter cold to get our schools ready for everyone to return. We also want to thank the board for considering our request to reimburse FHEA for the sunshine requests to receive the emails about the toxic smell at Francis Howell North. We hope to be able to review all the emails with the teachers to see if we can find a pattern or some commonalities. This issue needs to be resolved for the health and well-being of our students and staff. Unfortunately, we haven't received the emails yet. However, we know the district is working to help the teachers and students. But SM Wilson has not done everything necessary to find the origin of this toxic odor. We hope to be able to help them narrow down their search. It was exciting to get together and gather our building reps and principals together to help build better and stronger communications through building rep and principal training. We are a team that can help build or maintain a positive climate in all our buildings. FHEA appreciates the time everyone gave to be there. We also want to thank Dr. Rumpus for helping us present the training. We know there are many changes coming to our leadership next year. Our hopes are to build a positive working relationship with everyone. One Howell is more than a tagline to FHEA. Thank you.
Next, we welcome Peaceville.
Good evening, board, executive cabinet, Dr. Rumpus, and of course all the behind the scenes and executives that are here every month making sure that everything gets run smoothly. My name is Tracy Edelin, and I'm an educational sign language interpreter for 30 plus years, and I'm proud to serve and support PISPA as the vice president of interpreters. They also take a chance when they let me come up here to read, because I might go rogue and tell you about 2 emails I received today. Thank you to all of the custodians for shoveling the sidewalks. It was so nice to walk into the building for the basketball games and feel safe from slipping. Another one said, shout out to Don Van Horn for shoveling a path through the grass for us so that we don't have to walk in the snow. You always take care of us and continue to do thoughtful things. We appreciate you. So we would like to thank our maintenance, grounds, and custodial crews for their hard work and dedication this week clearing our facilities of snow and sub-zero temperatures. This is the second month in a row where you all have had to battle the elements, clearing snow so that we can safely bring students back to school. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you. I would also like to thank Jennifer Joels for making the phone calls for snow days. We also want to thank our transportation crews for being out early this morning, picking up our students as quickly and safely as possible. To the rest of our staff, thank you for getting out of bed this morning and coming to work in these frigid temperatures. Likewise, thank you to everyone who came out this evening to be at the board meeting. Hopefully this week will be the end of these frigid temperatures and snow for the season, and we can look forward to spring weather just around the corner. Thank you.
Board, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda for February 20th, 2025 as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ayes have it. Board, I'd like a motion to waive the sunshine fee as presented.
So moved. Second.
Give that to Director Harmon. Any discussion, board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Board, I'd like a motion to approve the policy committee bylaws as presented.
So moved. Second.
Director Ponder. Discussion, board.
Yeah, I just want to point out, there's a couple different sections that could use some additional work before we approve it. And especially when it comes to who makes up the committee. And I wanted to either open up that for a conversation amongst the board members or table the bylaws until there's an opportunity to fill in those gaps.
I think that's around kind of the board selection of the committee and how that actually, kind of the mechanics around how that occurs, correct?
Yeah, so currently, it says the board will select community members, but doesn't say if there will be a vote and where the vote will take place, or the board will select up to 10 staff persons, but same questions about how the staff persons are selected and where and how, and whether or not there's an aim to make sure there's some on the policy committee from elementary schools, middle school, high school, just things that are not substantive, but just important to think through and process before we approve it.
I'll give my thoughts on it. I think part of the great thing about this board is that we have the flexibility and we maintain our flexibility and not tie ourselves down with too much detail. I think it would, I would hope a board, and I certainly would support this, all the things you just mentioned, having a diverse set of staff from across the buildings or job types and what have you. I think that's just incumbent upon having a responsible board.
Other discussion, board?
I think when we start tying things down, then we get, which 10 staff positions do we pick, right? Then all of a sudden we're playing, there's a whole lot more than 10 categories of staff. So I think with each year or each time we get candidates, we look at the people who are interested and try to pick up a wide swath from that list. And that list is going to be different each year sometimes. There may not be a bus driver who can do it or whatever whatever we might lay out year to year. I think the policy committee itself is, we haven't met for a month or two now. So I'm caution about tabling it. I think we're looking to meet again here soon, once we get some members here. As for how the members are picked by the board, it would be selected in open session here, presumably our next meeting.
Additional discussion, board?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to table the approval of this set of bylaws until the March meeting, and to have policy committee involvement or just board conversation about it to answer the questions about how the membership is selected. So I'm making a motion to table the approval of this until March.
Point of order, that would be a motion to postpone then.
Yep. Thank you, Director. So we have a motion to postpone until next meeting on the vote for policy committee bylaws. We have a second.
Second.
First by Director Blair and second by Director Owens. Any additional discussion, board?
There is no committee right now. The committee's, there's no longer a committee since we passed the policy a month or two ago without committees. I wonder if the administration could tell us how many, if there's any policies, if there's any urgent business that can't wait a month or two from the MCE policy. I'm not aware of any pen forms or pending Board of Education policies.
No, I'm not aware of anything that's, excuse me, urgent. We do have a policy to bring forward. We've had a stakeholder group that's been working on the finals recommendation, I believe, for next year, that we wouldn't want to wait too long so that can be communicated. That did have board involvement, excuse me, as well as teacher involvement, other stakeholders. So I think with the board's direction, we would be comfortable bringing that one directly to the board at the March meeting because it's had a lot of input. And then we can check and see if there's anything else that we need. But I'm not aware of any other policies that are urgent at this time.
Additional discussion?
Yeah.
All right. So motion to postpone till next meeting for the bylaws. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Ayes have it. Up next, we have a motion to approve the purchases over $25,000 as presented.
So moved.
Blair, any discussion, board? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Now we have a motion to approve the report as presented. This is the Finance and Operations report.
So moved.
Second, Blair. Ms. Ingrid.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we do have for you our typical information that's been posted on board docs for public consumption and for your review prior to the meeting. And we do have for you this evening a budget amendment recommendation. And I will acknowledge the work of Director of Finance Julie Walsh. We've been steadily working together and she's in that new role. So it's been a great journey for us as we've been reviewing in detail a number of expenditures to prepare us for next year's budget. So it's twofold as we do the work. So you can see that we are providing you a budget amendment and transfers recommendation. We've not yet looked at the revenue side. We'll be doing that in the coming weeks. But on the expenditure side, the total recommended increase is $457,314. And that affects our fund balance percentage estimate for June 30 of this year, changing it to 29.54%, whereas it was 29.78% last time we provided a budget amendment for you. That's a 0.24 decrease, so less than 0.25%. This provides you with the summary by object. Again, we follow the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education code structure, and that is how we've depicted that, including the requirements by fund as well. Again, totaling that same $457,314. We've had shifts between different objects. The next slide provides you with the summary of revenue in total for the year. And as you can see, we've only made a budget amendment for revenue in the month of November. And that same information relative to expenditures shows that we've provided you with a few months of budget amendments. The grand total change in expenditures of $4,121,514 is mostly relative to that health fund increase that we provided last time. This slide highlights for you new information that we received when the governor delivered the State of the State address on January 28th. It included some significant impacts for public education throughout the state. The primary impact for us at this time is that the state adequacy target will not increase next year based on the governor's recommendation. Noted in the slide, the state adequacy target was to increase from, excuse me, 6,760 to 7,145, and that's per average daily attendee. So again, attendance matters not only from an instructional perspective, but also we receive funding based on attendance. That additional $385 per weighted average daily attendee would have generated approximately $6.4 million for Francis Howell School District. And you'll recall that we were being realistic or conservative as we were building out the operating trajectory, and we only planned for a 50% increase of that. So $3.2 million is the loss of future revenue for us effective FY26 and beyond. We also know that there will be other impacts based on potential approval of open enrollment bills, and that has been prioritized by the governor as well. And we don't know how that will impact Francis Howell and other districts throughout the state. More to come on that. I've noted for you that that $3.2 million, based on our current assumption data, is an impact of approximately a decrease of 1.28% each year as we journey forward. I remind you frequently that we provide you the best information we have, and that's the intention of these slides. So on the left, you can see our operating trajectory prior to the elimination of that second phase of the state adequacy target increase. And you can see on that line graph the spike in ESSER funds that occurred in the 23-24 fiscal year. We have received funds multiple years, but we've had a steady decline on the fund balance trajectory. The red line there at the 15% mark is our targeted minimum fund balance for Francis Howell. And then including that elimination of future revenues, again, it doesn't impact the current year, it impacts future years. You can see that the line graph looks very much the same. The numbers have changed, and we will in FY28 drop below the 15% line unless changes are made. And we know this always changes. Another highlight for you is the first, I started presenting to you August of 23, and the first time that we provided you with a line graph was December of 23. So if you go back to board docs for that board meeting, you will see that our line graph looks basically the same. There's been no change. Obviously, the ESSER funds have significantly impacted not only Francis Howell, but a number of districts. I want to highlight that good work was done in Francis Howell. The Board of Education and Administration's recommendations as well. We did not add excessive costs to our district using ESSER funds. Districts had the option of using that money to add new staff positions, maybe staff positions that are sorely needed, but instead that money was used to shore up our fund balance. And so it was prudently utilized, and that's why we don't have the same crisis in our district that other districts do throughout the state, where they may have added positions and now they find themselves in a situation where they have to eliminate those. So that's good news. That's a silver lining in this. This slide provides you with the assumptions that get us where we are on that line graph. And we've talked before about the impact of Senate Bill 190, which will affect our local taxes. We do have an estimate, we do have an estimate at this time based on data from St. Charles County that we may see a loss of future revenue of approximately $750,000. That we don't know if that is exactly how that will play out. But in the meantime, we did plan for a reduced percentage increase on our local tax. So we'll be taking a look at that using the updated assessed valuation data that St. Charles County provided us as we are examining revenues in the coming weeks. Again, noting that flat SAT which includes the reduction that we had previously provided. This assumption provides for a gross pay increase that would include the step movement on schedules, totaling 3%. I don't have for you at this time what the cost of a step is, but in many districts it's approximately 1.75%, so that gives you an idea of what the actual increase to the schedules would look like, the difference between 3% and that. For benefits, I've included a 10% flat increase. We know that we've had other information provided to us that we may see some additional costs that we need to be ready to cover. So I would anticipate that those numbers will need to go up. Then we're showing currently for the future a $5 million increase each year for capital. In the current year, we have a $7 million increase. That could be adjusted this year if we needed to. So we do have levers that we can push and pull to help us attain our end desired goals. So again, this shows you that fund balance trajectory going back to FY23, but then forward out to FY28. I have provided information that we know that we need to take action to address the downward trend of that line and ensure that we provide a financially sustainable outcome for the district. And so recommendations include performing a staffing analysis to ensure appropriate staffing levels are provided. And important to note that that could tell us we need to add staff in one place and maybe decrease staff in another. We don't know what that would ultimately mean. We need to analyze benefits and ensure that we have sustainable premiums and plans provided. I've also included acquire this support to address future capital improvements through bond issues so that operating funds are not relied upon. And then lastly, consider a levy transfer and or increase, debt service transfer to operating, and then also operating levy increase. Could be possible other levers that could be pulled or pushed. So just for context, on a levy, every 10 cents can generate $3.9 million approximately each year. This next slide reminds us that we have our bond financial posted each month, and we've updated this to include all of the recommendations that we've approved to date. And the great news is that we are sitting at $3.7 million still with available funds, and we do have estimates still on some things, but this does include adding back in Sager Middle School, and if you're interested in looking at the comprehensive report, that's available online as well. This is the self-insurance fund financial, and as you can see, if you look at our ending balance, that top graph is the medical portion of our self-insurance, and it shows that when you compare our performance July through January of last fiscal year and this fiscal year, we are still at a deficit of $2.374 million. We are going to be meeting with our broker very soon to learn information regarding how we closed out completely through December 31 before some changes were made to the plan, and we'll continue to apprise you when we have better information. But at this point in time, it's possible still that we may need to make another transfer. Our work in progress includes the benefit analysis, and we're still working on building that safety and security budget, as well as all other components of the budget. The debt service fund, I mentioned to you previously that we're analyzing that for a potential defeasance recommendation or a prepayment opportunity, utilizing some funds in that account. And we've concluded all of our budget meetings with leaders at this point in time. And we had a procedural analysis conducted, and we're working through updating some of that to ensure that we are in a good place relative to some internal controls. For March, we will be bringing you, hopefully, a demographic study recommendation, seeking your approval on that. That's pending that facility master plan that you did just approve, so thank you for that. We'll also be providing the capital projects and controlled supplies. That was a new process that we implemented last year, and Mr. Stutzer and I have another couple-hour meeting tomorrow to finalize some of that data to prepare the recommendation for you. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those.
Questions, Board? When do you expect we'll have an update on the safety audit?
So We actually, so we did provide the, in the public session meeting, we provided the update relative to the social emotional supports. And then in closed session, because it is an allowable Missouri Sunshine ruling that we can cover physical security in closed session. We did that same night in December. But you're probably asking about some of the recommendations that are specifically coming forward from that. And we will share that information with you. We'll share in closed, which should be shared in closed. From a public perspective, it will be included in the comprehensive budget.
Perfect.
Okay.
It's also, we are excited to be moving forward with filling the Safety and Security Director position and hope to bring that recommendation to the board next month. And some of those recommendations will be tied directly to that leadership position as well.
One of the assumptions I did see in there was for a fit tax.
Oh.
I know a couple years ago we kind of said let's leave that out of there because I think over the last 5 years it was anywhere from $6 million to $20,000 depending on the year, so it's a little variable.
Variable.
That's still the assumption that we're going with is we're leaving that out, and if it comes, if it shows up and we get a big windfall, then we plan for that at that point in time.
You are correct. I will tell you that we did recently receive a distribution of a whopping under $30,000. So I'm very pleased that we did not have a budget set to cover an excessive amount of the tax. But no change needed on that.
So you mentioned at the very end about the facility master plan.
Yes.
We've already approved that. And I just wanted you to maybe share that for the public to be aware. Why are we doing a facility master plan? When was the last time we did that? And why do we think it's a good idea to go forward?
Sure. So the last facility master plan update was provided in 2018 by the previous architect. And we believe that it is important that we have our new architect with fresh eyes reviewing all the data. It's been a number of years, and by the time we would be ready for any type of future bond recommendation, we'll be looking at a decade on that data potentially. So all that to say, we're excited to work with them, and we know that they will bring quality work for us. And what that does for us is provides that roadmap of these are the needs, these are the prioritized needs, and we work through that with the board on a path forward.
So it helps us know the big rocks coming forward.
Big rocks.
And be able to make faithful decisions now in light of where we're going in 2 years, 3 years, 6 years from now.
And I'll go ahead and comment about the fact that, so Mr. Stetzer and I, we've reviewed the capital requests that we've received so far, and there are a number of things that building principals have had opportunity to provide us with. But even when you think about some of the requests that they have submitted, on the surface, they may look like a simple fix. But our architectural team working alongside engineers will really delve into what does that look like, not only on the surface, what most of us can see, like me, but really what's behind those walls. What are we really getting into whenever we take that on as an improvement? And that really informs the total cost for all of those. As any type of recommendation would be built out, we would also, like I've referenced before, provide for inflation and that kind of thing too, so that we can appropriately assess the need in total.
I had one more, and that is, I don't know if you've heard, but recently there's been conversations about the Department of Education and at the federal level, and we don't know what's going on with that, but you're paying attention to everything from a change in funding from a federal level towards Francis Howell, as well as a possibility of impact on free and reduced lunches. So all that's still up in the air, but you're aware of the conversations and you're paying close attention.
Absolutely. Yeah. Dr. Rumpus also, we have the ability to engage with certain groups that help support us in that work and provide us with the information that we need to know. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education also provides us with updates from time to time on changes that are impacting the department that then are passed on to us. So, but we truly don't know, and even on the state legislative front, we won't know until, you know how that works. There are a number of bills that have been filed that impact public education and other revenue sources throughout the state, whether it be general revenue or not, and all of that comes crashing down to the May close of the legislative session when things pass, and then we'll apprise you at that point in time. But if we know better, we will know more information. We will provide that as well.
thank you for keeping your attention on those
Sure.
changes that might happen. Thank you.
Maybe just one quick follow-up to that, and the rest of the conversation is for the communities. You guys continually monitor everything that's going on and update the financial projections based on that, hence why the state conversation has already become part of our financial projections.
That's
for
correct.
this month. So we continually look at that, look at the things that we have to do and plan for it.
Right. And as I've shared in the past, we aren't at a crisis. We're fine as you look at that line graph. We have time, but we must be strategic and intentional in ensuring that we make the right changes for that move forward.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. I believe we have reports for the budget.
Yes, and this will be super fast. I have provided you, this is a familiar chart for you. You received this from me last year. And this just lays it out for you, the budget development calendar. And I always like to highlight, you know, like what we were just talking about for the state legislative session, that ends at mid-May. And oftentimes, we have already moved forward on a number of primary recommendations to the board. And so that's why it is important to maintain an appropriate fund balance percentage so that it protects us as we move forward. And so this shows you that the workload as we journey forward. And again, you can circle back to the top and see that, you know, next September we'll bring you the tax rate hearing information and get that approved prior to the October 1 deadline. So that just gives you that one-stop shop, if you will, of keeping an understanding of where we're headed. So there's that. This is a reminder that we must comply with Missouri Statute 165.011, and that requires us to maintain separate funds for separate purposes. And so that's why the budget and everything that follows is built upon that structure. We maintain a sub-fund for the bond fund. We also have some operating funds that are sub-funds like nutrition services and things like that so that we can better analyze data. And for me, I always highlight the importance of always looking at the bond fund separate from regular capital as you move forward in your board terms, all of you, that would be an expectation that you place because it's easy for it to get lost in the shuffle, if you will, with regular capital. This shows you our presentation schedule that we've outlined. So here we are at February 20, providing you with the overall timeline and plan. In March, we'll bring you the capital fund and bond fund recommendation. And April, debt service and health fund. May 15th will be the general fund and teachers fund, where in that situation, we'll be basically providing you an overview of what currently exists. And it will be very high level by primary object range. Then in June, the comprehensive revenue and expenditure budget presentation and recommendation will be made, followed by then that other June meeting on June 19th, where we will seek your approval. All budgets must be approved prior to July 1, so that will be a requirement for us. So that's all I have for that. Any questions?
Questions for it? Thank you very much. Next, I believe we have a construction update. Mr. Stutz.
Good evening, board members. As part of our continued efforts with transparency, process improvement, and communication with the board and our community, I'm happy to present to you this evening February's quarterly construction progress update. Just a quick note from an opening comment standpoint. Obviously, weather conditions have really created challenges with progress, really for each and every one of our projects that's currently has shovels in the ground. Between cold temperatures and snow, we've resulted in just numerous weather days. We're tracking those and we'll make adjustments and try to find opportunities in scheduling where we can maximize some time, also find windows. Again, many of these projects specific to like Henderson and Fairmount, we've articulated to the board and the community that we are going to utilize certain breaks where the buildings are free to complete some of that work. So we'll try to be strategic as weather improves on how we can make up some ground from a scheduling standpoint. And you'll see, we still continue to make progress, and you'll see some of that in the presentation this evening. I do want to start over at North. We obviously continue to experience consistent intermittent odors, and I want to assure the board that each time that we receive a report of an odor, appropriate personnel look into that and document it, investigate it, and record it. And the goal there, obviously, us and Wilson had presented at the December board meeting what we believed at the time was causing the issue, and we do believe that that was a significant blockage that was contributing to the odors that we were experiencing at that time. But it's moved, okay? And so we addressed one, and then it's moved to another. So I did work with our mechanical engineer of record, and on the 13th of February, we spent several hours on the roof at Francis Howell North, just doing investigatory work from the systems that provide, that vent the restrooms on the 1400 hallway as well as the 2400 hallway, as well as mechanical systems that provide heating and cooling to those spaces. So we do believe we've identified a vent pipe there that requires further investigation. It's not venting the way it needs to. And so as soon as weather permits, we will scope that vent pipe and hopefully identify what's causing irregularities because it's not behaving as the other venting systems that are on the roof. So that's kind of the update there. I won't get too much into the timelines that we've captured based off of reports from building leadership as well as staff. That's there for your review. I'll jump right into Henderson. Again, this is just the framework, obviously, that got us to the point where we're have shovels in the ground. I do just want to highlight the targeted completion there. It's still summer of 2025, but as we get more favorable weather and we continue to make up ground with the delays based on the weather days, I'll make sure that we keep the board apprised of any movement there from a scheduling standpoint. So quite a bit of work has taken place in Henderson. What you see here is the storm shelter addition, the slide on the left, all the exterior walls, exterior masonry walls there are complete. We've got the connecting link where we've got the structural steel erected there, and that will serve as the link that connects the addition to the existing building. And not only does it serve as a link, but that's where the community student restrooms are. So on the interior, on the slide on the right, masons are inside laying CMU walls, construction masonry unit walls. They are actually topped out, so that means they're at the bottom of the roof deck. We already have the roof decking on, and as soon as weather permits, we'll be able to insulate that roof and get the roof membrane on. How we're able to kind of complete that interior work with the cold temperatures, again, a strategy that is utilized in construction. You can see on some of those openings, they're tinted. Basically, we're covering those up, and they're running propane heaters inside to allow for work to take place. The gym addition side, we're a little bit slower again than we'd like, and again, I've attributed that to weather. We do have all of the exterior wall footings poured, and you can see in this slide they started forming up the foundational walls, and as soon as the masons are finished with the link as well as topping out inside, they will start working on the exterior masonry walls for the gym addition. Moving over to Fairmount, we're way delayed here in terms of progress between weather, and then we had to work through some permitting challenges or opportunities, however you want to look at them, with the county relative to stormwater detention and how we're collecting all of that. And so that targeted completion, we were always going to be during the winter of 2025, but that may even potentially now push to spring of 2026. Okay, and so we'll continue to monitor that and provide the appropriate updates. And as I just mentioned, while we have the slide on the left here, is the building pad. Obviously, we've got that framework ready to go. But the efforts are focused on the slide on the right now with the extension of the parking lot. Where the building pad is right now was where the staff parking lot was. And so we've shifted the parking lot out, and the crews are working on installing or laying the precast stormwater piping to collect all of the stormwater for that parking lot. So as soon as that work is done, and the reason we're trying to get all of the underground work for the parking lot done is that's going to serve as basically a laydown yard for all the materials that will serve to construct the addition. So sequencing there is important, and we're trying to advance that work. That way we can hop back over and start working on underground utilities and get the footings and foundation walls for the addition constructed. Francis Howell Central, the softball baseball complex. We again, weather continues to challenge us there, but we're approximately about 3 weeks behind on schedule there. But we have been able to continue to work through some of the cold temperatures and the weather. And you can see that the field itself is really prepped and ready for the turf installers to mobilize. Obviously, with the snow that we had late last week and this week, the field was ready for the turf installers on February 7th. They were scheduled to mobilize on the 14th. They have roughly about 2 weeks worth of work to get the turf installed. But with the weather, they've been pushed. And so next week looks a little bit more favorable if we can get all the snow that's currently on the field melted. And they are tentatively right now scheduled to mobilize to the site on the 24th of February, which I believe is next Monday. To the right there, some flat work for the new bleacher system. Again, we've articulated that need from multiple standpoints: safety, ADA, and so that is poured. Bleacher company is about a week behind, so they will mobilize that last week, either late next week or that first week in March. Construct the bleacher system that will have a capacity of about 150 spectators, as well as having spaces for ADA cutouts and those types of things. So you can see there's an elevation change between the asphalt, the existing asphalt, that will all get feathered in to where we get new asphalt. Again, we won't be able to do that work until temperatures are about 40 degrees and rising. Part of that is just a requirement to be able to lay asphalt, and most of the plants shut down during the winter season, and will kind of spring up anytime weather is above 40 to allow for pothole filling. Obviously with all the weather that we've received, there's going to be a great need for that. So as soon as we're able to get a plant going and temperatures are above 40 degrees, we'll start performing that asphalt work. All of the netting and fencing on the outfield and the backstop. Well, the backstop's not up yet. We still have a top cap to do on that masonry wall there, and as soon as that's in, we'll get that netting. But the nettings for the bullpens and everything else are installed and in place. Other projects. So over here in this green box, those are all projects that the board has approved. They're all under permit review with the various authorities having jurisdiction. Some you have city and some you have county. We are very close. I do receive updates from the construction team as well as design team on where we're at with that, along with any comments that that authority having jurisdiction may have that we need to work through. And so far, it's been very little. We are waiting on some comments back from the county on the wrestling facility. They just had questions about restroom utilization. Obviously, that project has 2. I think they're trying to advocate to add a 3rd, but we will have those discussions with them. The Phase 1 HVAC improvements, again, those obviously have been through the board approval. We've got contracts signed. They're just kind of in a holding pattern. Equipment has been ordered, and we're anticipating the equipment to arrive in early April. So everything will be here. That way, once school's out, we'll start immediately on that work. And then Phase 2 HVAC improvements, we're working behind the scenes doing some investigatory work at those sites that are articulated there, with the goal of having solidifying our pricing estimates that we've already previously shared with the board right around the spring break. And then we just have one capital project that we've been working on, and that is complete. That's at Francis Howell Central, and it's the stadium turf complex, and we've turned that over to the building for utilization. And obviously, weather hasn't been conducive for them to be able to get out and utilize it yet, but as soon as weather permits, they'll start utilizing that. Any questions or clarifications the board may have that I can answer?
Questions, board? Does not appear so.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Gowan give us a technology assessment update.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to talk to you tonight about an assessment of our technology team and, of course, technology throughout the district. The overall purpose is to ensure that we have best practices in place and that we're not only here to improve the user experience, but also the coordination of available resources district-wide. We'll talk first about technology expenditures, and we'll talk about a hardware assessment, network cybersecurity assessment, and then conclude with a staffing assessment. Taking a quick bird's eye view of our district's technology spending from year to year. This is the last 4 years, this year inclusive. On average, the district has spent between $6 million and $7.6 million in the last 4 years. These are the 8 line items that DESE specifies for technology-related expenditures. We do not include in here the expenditures for the IT department salaries or for benefits or any of the general supplies that would be routine of any office. These are specific technology expenditure line items. We're going to cover 4 of the big ones a little bit more in depth so you can get an idea of what's in there. Object code 6337 is for technology-related repairs and maintenance. This is predominantly in the IT department's budget. These are the operating and instructional software pieces that we license from like Microsoft Infinite Campus. You can see the list up there. And included in that is board docs, which you are using to guide your meeting tonight. But it also includes purchase services that we have with Morenet and some of the vendors that come in and do repairs for us, like KCAV. And as you can see, that expenditure has generally been around the $2 million mark. This one is more of a catch-all. This is any supplies that are purchased that are technology related. Big items in this bucket include some software that is purchased by other departments. This is the object code that they code their software to. Examples of that are listed up on the screen. It also includes all the parts, devices, and equipment that are not under a finance lease, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. One thing to know about this is that DESE recently changed the definition of equipment, and of capital equipment specifically. It is now, we now have a threshold of 5,000 versus I believe it was 3,000 before. So there are items that are now considered a supply that were not previously considered a supply. So when you see the jump between fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25, that's a big part of that. Where we did our planning last year for things to be equipment, we're now planning that for that to be supplies. So that's important to know. And on this slide, we're looking specifically at the leases. Each year, the IT department has presented a list of objects that it desires to purchase, refresh devices, usually Chromebooks, laptops, iPads, the works. And we arrange a lease, and we bring the terms of the lease to the board for approval. That is covered by these two object codes, and that's our principal and interest on the lease. As you can see, our lease payments have fluctuated, but obviously it depends on the items that you're purchasing in the beginning year of each lease. Items that we're going to recommend for 25-26 will be presented as part of the capital planning process, and we anticipate that being at the next meeting or perhaps the meeting after that. Talking specifically about the hardware that the district has available, you see up here on the left side of the screen the counts that we have of each of, in our inventory system, the counts that we have of each of these different categories of devices. I will say that the Chromebook count has been verified, not only by serial number, physically touching the asset, confirming the serial number, but it has also been verified by cross-checking it with our Chrome management system that allows us to see when was the device last used, where was it last used, and by whom was it last used. So we're pretty confident in our Chromebook inventory, but the other items have yet to be cross-referenced and verified. We will begin doing that process with iPads and proceed on down that list, hopefully by the end of the summer. It is our intent to be as certain about the number of Chromebooks, about the other devices that we have, as we are certain about the number of Chromebooks that have been purchased and are currently out in our environment. That's 17,983. Of that number, about 27.6%, I believe, have been purchased by sources other than the IT department. And that's important for us as we look into this next slide. Essentially, our budget planning process in the IT department has historically only focused on the other side of that, the stuff that we've purchased and the stuff that we plan to refresh. As such, items that were purchased by other sources, including PTOs or grant resources, have often been purchased without a plan to replace them. And so unfortunately, that has resulted in some devices in our environment being used well past their useful life. And so with more assessments being mandated to be delivered online, these outdated devices can contribute to student frustration. And so we would like to see a path where we're not using devices beyond their useful life. While we may not be one-to-one, the figures on the right do show that we have enough devices district-wide that can be reallocated, even after disposing of the older ones. These figures do not include any of the older ones that are beyond their useful life. And we summarize the ratios of elementary and secondary at the bottom there. In terms of device deployment strategies, there are essentially three models that are often used in school districts. We currently use a classroom-based technology model. In that case, student devices are dedicated to specific classrooms and remain on a cart in those classrooms. The quantity of devices has to be enough to serve the largest class population. So if you think about a secondary class like a high school algebra class, they might have 30 people in second period for algebra, but that same teacher might be teaching one of the more advanced classes for the rest of the day, and they might have 25 students in their class. So we have to plan that cart for 30 devices to serve the largest class. The second common model is a cart-based one-to-one model. In this model, students begin in a homeroom period and end their day in that same homeroom period so that they can pick up their device in the morning, carry it throughout the day, and then bring it back to that particular classroom at the end of the day so that it charges up and is ready for tomorrow. One advantage of this model that I've seen used in some districts is that teachers with carts, teachers who are in classrooms that have carts, can let their students know that they're not using their Chromebooks during that period, and they can be put away so that they're not a distraction in the classroom. The third model that is often used in districts is the take-home one-to-one model. In this model, students are given a device at the beginning of the year. They carry it to and from school each day, and they take the responsibility for maintaining the device as well as charging it overnight. It's important to note, we are not a one-to-one. If a one-to-one initiative were implemented in the district, it would require extensive professional development for our teachers. It would also One-to-ones, the more you have the device being carried around, the more likely the device is to get damaged. So one-to-one initiatives typically require an increase in IT staff and additional resources for repairs. And finally, a one-to-one initiative would also require us to have software not only to manage the devices here at school, but also to manage the devices at home. Best practices that would improve device performance. Routine operating system updates are necessary to keep every device, including the ones in front of you, running effectively and secured from known threats. Devices that are not updated and restarted regularly, they lose the ability to update themselves. And so we usually recommend a habit of restarting daily in order to keep the memory caches clear and in order to keep updates running. Our Chromebooks currently have 4 gigabytes of memory across the fleet, and that is considered standard for devices today. However, any future purchases will need to have more memory in order to keep up with anticipated software and accessibility needs in the future. And another best practice is to limit the amount of Chrome extensions that are pushed out to devices, instead teaching and empowering our users to install only those extensions that are needed to perform the work that is expected out of the device. All 3 of these best practices can improve the performance of any device, but they are absolutely critical in Chromebooks. As far as opportunities on the hardware side for improvement, there's some process improvements that I think we could implement. One thing we could consider is to remove the burden of replacing equipment from PTO fundraising efforts and from building funds. We could also improve the fairness throughout the district so that schools, grade levels, and content areas are treated similarly across the district. And we can also coordinate the hardware and software purchases to make sure they're aligned with the district vision and the emerging needs of our students and through the budget process. Things to think about, potential opportunities for us would be to perhaps to adopt a touchscreen preference so that we can improve the way students engage with their learning content and also improve the way students engage with their assessments. This will also open up, not only is it intuitive for our students, but it'll also open up some additional accessibility features. And one other item that we could look at is increasing that processing power from 4 gigabytes on our Chromebooks to allow more memory and resources to improve the speed today, but also to get ready for future interactive software demands. It's also worth noting that a best demonstrated practice among many districts is to adopt a tactile tablet at the primary grade levels and then use high-quality Chromebooks for the remaining grade levels, phased in strategically with each device cycle. Switching to our network, a quick assessment. I can say that following the incident last February at this time, our cybersecurity has improved significantly. We do weekly audits. We have weekly audits performed for us by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Authority Agency. I can't remember what the A stands for. But anyway, recent audits indicate that all of our best practices have been eliminated and there are no findings. We do work with the E-rate program through the FCC, and we have participated in Category 1 and Category 2, which provides us a 40% discount on the things that we purchase for our network and for cybersecurity purposes. One of the things that we've done this year is we have had a 5 gig connection in prior years. This September, we rolled that up to 10 gigs. It's not a significant cost to the district, but as you can see, we were pushing the limits on the 5 gig connections. And this slide is just to say thank you for the projects that you guys approved at our last board meeting in January. These projects are now being submitted for E-rate approval, and once they're approved, they will allow us to do even more benefit for our network. The last thing the assessment covers is our technology team. Staffing-wise, we have fewer people in key positions on our technology team than similarly situated districts. That does present kind of a challenge for us, but we'll continue to seek support for our help desk, network, and systems teams. And obviously, if the district does choose to go one-to-one, we'll need to seek additional support for our repair team as well. Experience is a challenge for us. There was a lot of turnover in recent years, and that turnover has resulted in some key people having been on the job for only a few years. And so to address the experience issue, we've been working to try to promote professional development so that we can build their capacity. Now that we're building their capacity, though, it's our goal to kind of hang on to them so that we don't experience the same kind of turnover that we've had previously. So we're working towards improving motivation, teamwork, and job satisfaction. Quick summary of our opportunities. Obviously, the district-wide capital planning process that Carol mentioned earlier, by putting technology, hardware, and software in that process, and that's fully implemented for next year. By putting technology, hardware, and software into that process, that allows us to be strategic about what we fund and what we don't fund, and not being dependent upon others to fundraise for us. Second opportunity would be to continue collaboration with stakeholders toward a common vision of technology and integrating into our district's strategic planning process. That will allow us to challenge requests that are outside the scope of that vision or outside of the sequence with our budget planning process. And then obviously we want to continue to do a comprehensive staffing analysis on the technology team to make sure that we have the appropriate staff with the appropriate training to support student needs and and staff needs as well. And then the final opportunity for us is E-rate has not yet shared what the next 5-year cycle looks like. And so I'm kind of anxiously awaiting what that looks like to see what opportunities it will provide for us to get discounts on infrastructure equipment as well as on the services that we need for cybersecurity. That's all I have for you. Any questions?
Questions, board?
That previous slide, I mean, you have 4 bullet points.
Which one? The previous?
That one.
Yeah.
So, which means the strategic plan.
Yes.
How long would you need to be able to pull those 3 items together? Because you're going to be looking to replace, I'm sure, some Chromebooks here in the next few months.
Fortunately, I've been able to participate in the strategic planning process, so I've been able to keep an eye on some of those things and plan accordingly.
So you would be able to provide an update as to how you're going to tie those 3 together?
Yes.
As far as a plan, when do you think you'd be able to present that?
Well, I think we would be presenting that as part of the strategic plan.
Okay.
You mentioned that, this may be a question for others, but you mentioned some of the assessments that students are required to take are now required to be taken on a computer?
Online, yeah.
Or online. Yeah. I'm curious, what are those assessments, and where I'm getting to, is that we like to talk about unfunded mandates. Does this fall into that bucket? I'm seeing nods.
I mean, I can answer a couple of them that I know have more recently been done online. That's the ACT, for example. Would you care to elaborate on that?
The ACT, they're pushing that direction, but to your question, Vice President Cook, the MAP and EOC at this point are all online assessments. And unfortunately, too, at the window, it's not just the individual devices, but it's the wireless network to support hundreds of students throughout the district at the same time, logging on in a secure manner.
I will throw in, my daughter's cringing, the AP exams are pretty much online, and she would prefer paper copies. But.
Yeah, I'm afraid we won't have much of a hammer against the ACT or the College Board, but certainly the MAP and EOC.
I want to call out for your daughter that used the word cringe. When I was looking at the assessment, part of me got really excited. I thought about the 1-to-1 ratios. I was like, oh wow, we're a bit closer than I thought. And then I looked a little bit closer and realized that for anybody paying attention or watching it online from home, that there's a bigger gap from where we are to where we would need to be to offer 1-to-1 than what might look like there. It looks like, well, there's 17,000 Chromebooks. We have 17,000 students. It feels like a nice fit. So it was really helpful for me to hear how many of those Chromebooks were presented or raised through PTOs.
Yes.
That may not have a plan for refurbishing it, repairing it, the staffing required. I think it's also helpful for us to be aware of how this fits into the overall system of priorities and values of a school district that includes everything from the conversations with the fiscal cliff, the missing steps for teachers, class sizes that was mentioned before, a facility master plan. And all these things are connected. And so I really appreciate how this presentation, in light of the entire night of presentations and patron comments, can be seen as we're not there yet. And there are certain priorities that have to take place first. So whoever's watching online, if you're thinking we're right on the edge of being able to offer this, we aren't. It's because all these other things are part of the conversations, the decisions among the board to decide values and priorities, what happens first. And I really appreciate the slides being presented in a way that helped me understand that those numbers were not as rosy as I originally thought, but that there are steps that we can take in light of all the other pieces as well. So thank you for the presentation, and all the other people who've done the presentations tonight too.
And it also helps to be humbling to have technology glitches happen on the night that you're delivering a technology assessment.
I appreciate you drawing attention to that, though, and there were questions this week about the number of devices. And I think there's a very important distinction between our ratio of devices to students is around 1-to-1. The 1-to-1 model of instruction is very different, because then it's not just the device, it's cords, it's protective equipment, it's insurance, it's all of the other pieces. So I wish it wasn't the same language, but there's a ratio and then there's the instructional model, and those are two different things. We have the ratio, we do not have the instructional model that supports that at this time.
Other questions, board? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just for the community's knowledge, there's a number of first-read curriculums. If I counted right, about 24. So the administrative or the academic team has been hard at work. So for anybody that wants to look through those in their time, they are welcome to do so. And then board would like a motion to approve the curriculum documents as presented for our second read and vote curriculum, which is all, I think, 14 Project Lead the Way items. So motion. Dr. Cook, Dr. Ponder. Discussion board, questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Which brings us to superintendent comments.
Thank you, President Bertrand. First, I'd like to ask everyone here to tell a friend or family member about the district's Meet FHSD recruitment event that's coming up on Saturday, March 8th. This is an amazing opportunity for any prospective teacher candidates to get to come and learn about positions in the district. There's no RSVP required. Candidates can just show up and learn more about the district, the positions we currently have available. They can have their resumes reviewed by administrators and HR staff members, and then get it on a list to have first information available about upcoming positions. So that event is at 9 a.m. at Francis Howell Central on Saturday, March 8th. As a reminder, it was said a little bit earlier, but with the additional snow days we have experienced, Tuesday, June 3rd is currently our last day of school. That could be further extended if we have any additional snow days still in the next month. You know, it's interesting in January when it's the first couple, everybody's kind of excited for a snow day, and that decision and the feedback gets a little bit more challenging each time we have to do this. But I too want to thank our maintenance, grounds, and custodial teams for all the extra work that they put in this week. As a result of frigid temperatures, you know, they have to be out there in that cold, preparing our lots, preparing our sidewalks, and we appreciate the work that they've done this week as well as when we go back to January. Speaking of our incredible employees, I also want to take a moment and congratulate all of the district's teacher and support staff members of the year. Our schools have selected and been announcing their winners at each of the individual buildings, and in the next coming days, the district will be announcing its support staff and employee and teacher of the year, and all of these outstanding individuals will be recognized at the Howell of Fame Awards ceremony that will take place in May. March 10th, upcoming, we will be hosting our Senior Pals event with a special musical performance at Sager Middle School. Anyone 55 or older who lives in the district is welcome to attend. We really want to encourage patrons that may not have or have not had students involved in the district in a while. It's an opportunity to come in and get to hear some updates from administration about what's taking place in the district. We provide dinner at 6 p.m. in the cafeteria, then at Sager, and then at 7 p.m. we have the 158-member Spartan Community Band that will perform as part of Music in Our Schools Month under the direction of Sager Band Director Shannon Krebs and Co-Director John Evans from Bryan Middle School. So it's not too late to sign up. That link is on the website. And again, it's a great opportunity for patrons to get to come in and be in one of our schools and see the great work of our students and our staff. Thank you.
You, any board comments?
You know I always do. I just want to piggyback on what Carol Embry was telling us earlier. Funny how we're thinking alike, I guess. I want our district patrons to be aware of the serious issue facing public schools in this country. There are more proposed funding cuts by the Missouri legislature and the federal government. When tax dollars are diverted to private, parochial, and home schools, our public schools are negatively impacted. If this trend continues, class sizes will increase, teachers will not get raises, and the quality of instruction will suffer. Additionally, a tax levy increase may be required to sustain our public schools. Please contact your government officials to ask them to stop the financial draining of our education system and to stand with the public schools of America. Finally, please vote for those who will defend and protect the great equalizer, public education.
Additional comments, Board?
A couple. If we could get on the agenda, the finals, the policy for the finals, assess the weighting of the finals. We can make sure that gets on for next month's agenda. I'd appreciate that. I think there were so many teachers and so many admin that were involved in that whole process. It would be a shame to keep pushing that out and nothing really happened. The other thing I would like to say is there were a couple commenters that indicated that none of us ever reply to them. I've had one parent I know that reach out to me direct or come up to me after and meet. I met with her at Panera. We didn't see eye to eye on everything, but if anybody's out there thinking that they're reaching out to me direct to meet with them, I'm not aware of it. So I'm more than willing to meet with anybody. There's a Panera right up here. I'm more than willing to meet with anybody for however long you want to sit down and talk. But it'll be respectful. We may not agree walking away, but you're not including me in that. Nobody's ever gotten back to me and been willing to meet. I just wanted to point that out.
I wanted to thank all the folks in the district that helped all the facilities over the last few weeks with the snow. Just walking up to this building, it looks far better than my driveway does, for sure. I'm not very good at salting and things like that. It's not my forte. It has been pretty challenging, especially for those of us that work from home with the kids at home. So, Dr. Rumpus, please don't say anything else about further snow days. I would appreciate that. One of the things that was brought to my attention, I don't spend a whole lot of time on the socials, very little if any, but it was brought to my attention that we need some volunteers at Eagle Fest at Henderson for tomorrow evening for the setup, and then Eagle Fest for Saturday. So if there are any parents or folks out there in the district that would like to volunteer to help out the PTO there for that event, it's a great event. It's my buddy's school. It would mean a lot to them that you actually show up and get out there and help out. It's like I said, tomorrow is the setup from 5:30 to 8, and then Saturday from 9 to 11 is the last minute crew setup, and then from 10:45 to 12:45 is the first shift going on through, looks like 5 o'clock, I believe, and they need, well, a lot of people, I think 44 people, I believe it is. So if anybody out there can or will, I'm gonna try to get out there as much as I can. And there's a sign-up sheet. I don't know how to, maybe if we can put it out there somehow to the district. I don't know how else we can get it out there because, like I said, I don't do the socials all that much. But other than that, I can't wait for, I guess it's Monday, for nice warmer weather. The baseball teams are reporting to spring training, so that's what I look forward to every year. So this is my happy time. So I wish everybody the best. Thanks for everything that you guys did, especially the folks that did the technology report. That was pretty eye-opening. Yeah, have a great day. That's all I got.
I was going to say two really brief things. One is just a happy Black History Month, and like today I spent some time learning about Ruby Bridges, just an 11-year-old, and I thought it was a good idea to learn a little bit about Ruby Bridges and learn about just different features of the story I had no idea. So for that 11-year-old or any other 11-year-old who's being brave, keep on being brave. Again, repeating an earlier comment, great job, Dan Van Horn and all the other people who are cleaning up the facilities. You know, when kids walk in with some salt on their shoes, it just takes a little extra scrubbing and extra washing and all this stuff. And they're just doing it almost invisibly, like we don't see it happening. But I think part of what we can do as a board is to shine spotlights on people who are maybe feeling invisible. Just let them know we see you, we appreciate you, and all of us I just wanted to affirm the goodness of the people who are working on part of our staff, getting our buildings ready.
Similar to Director Ponder's comments, there's my buddy's school is the Independence Elementary School, or it's one of them, and they also have a PTO fundraiser coming up here on March 1st for anyone watching online or in the audience still who's interested in that. Certainly encourage you to go. I'm going. Look forward to mingling, talking with people there. So that's the only thing I have tonight.
All right, I guess I get to wrap it up. First off, I wanted to give the community a little update on our superintendent search. So that process is progressing kind of as we laid out online. So if you want to see the schedule, it's there. We do have 4, I would say, that candidates that the board's excited about that we will be going through the first round interview process next week. And so we're excited for that process to continue kind of in the timeline and looking to present somebody to the community in early March. So that process continues. Been a lot of thank yous out there to the staff cleaning up sidewalks and everything, so thank you to them as well. I also want to give a shout out to all our bus drivers that are driving around, keeping our students safe in this weather, so thank you very much for doing that and keeping them safe as you drive them around. So, board, I would like a motion to return to closed session. So moved. Second. Ponder, Director Cook. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Thank you very much, everybody.